What is going on, guys? This is Joe Young coming at you another video for the week. So before we get into the video, if you guys noticed, just yesterday I tried to do some live stream just for testing, and actually a few of you guys showed up. Thank you for showing up, guys. I didn't make it really like public or announcement or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to do a test run just to make sure everything worked. I went back and then listened to some of the actual audio and stuff like that. There was a lot of background noise. Like I probably tweaked the mic a little bit just to make it a little bit better. But overall, you know, there was some minor issues I had on my side, but the stream actually, you know, was pretty good. I didn't have any frame drops. That was the main thing that I was worried about, was having frame drops and then just having other issues of audio. In the future, I would like to do more consistent live streams, but right now, I don't really have a set schedule, so you might see me on and off once in a while. If you guys kind of like that stuff, let me know in the comments below. And also like what times to work for you. I know a lot of other people already have live stream schedules, so I don't really know their specific schedule. So if there's a specific time that you guys like, let me know and I'll see if I can try to get something going on there. And actually yesterday I just wanted to do probably like a 30-minute live stream, but it ended up being like an hour and a half or so. And it was a lot of interaction and it was really fun. So definitely looking forward to doing some more of those in the future. All right, so on to this week's update. I figured I'd give you guys an update on the rack system outside. So pretty much after the consolidation of the fish from the other rack one where I tore down completely, every Pleco that I have is pretty much in these 4 tanks now. The tank's actually running very well. The plants are starting to semi-take off in terms of growth. There's no CO2 in the system, actually. It's low tech. The other rack did have CO2, but because the system's so big, actually I went through a 10-pound tank in like 3 weeks, and it was kind of ridiculous in terms of replacing the actual CO2 so often, and also the plants were growing like ridiculous just because the tank is really shallow, so the light was just like perfect for the plants and the CO2 and whatnot, so like the plants would just grow like wildfire. So moving forward, I'm probably going to do a low-tech setup where the plant growth isn't as fast, but also I'm going to pick plants that are more just like foreground plants slash more compact and smaller so that it doesn't overgrow past the actual top of the tank. So the tank up top here, I consolidated a lot of my 2009 swords into this tank and actually propagating a lot of them up here. For whatever reason, the plecos and just algae eaters, they just really love the leaves of this specific sword, so there'll be always holes in the actual plant if I actually keep plecos in here, so I actually have to separate them. So right now I just have a couple rainbow fish in this tank. So the setup is basically 2 planted tanks on top and then 2 bare bottom tanks on the actual bottom of the rack. It just makes stuff a little bit easier to clean, and also when stuff overflows from the top to the bottom, the debris will just either sit on the bare bottom tank so that I can actually see it, and then I can just kind of siphon that up. Or, you know, if there's just debris on a bare bottom tank, a lot of the flow will kind of kick up that debris and actually it'll go to the filter and actually get filtered out. That's my thought process of keeping 2 of the top tanks planted and then the 2 in the bottom bare. I was actually going to do a kind of reverse, where keeping it bare on the top and then keeping the 2 planted. But actually having the lights up top was a lot easier just because there's no shelving or just thing blocking the light above, and also it's a lot easier to see the plants just because it's eye level to you. So with the other setup, it's gonna be kind of low, so you kind of have to like lean down just to see the plants and just to see how things are doing. So I figured, you know, just having it up there will be a lot easier just visually. The tank right next to it, I'm right now just trying to grow some Blyxa Japonicas. They're super slow growing if you do low tech, basically no CO2 with high light. But if you put in some CO2, definitely this plant does take off. But right now it's kind of growing a little bit slow just because I just have no CO2 in the tank and it's just running basically off of just high light. The plecos in here are really shy. They're actually in the back behind the actual overflow box. A lot of the plecos actually like that area just because it's dark. And it's just kind of a nice little hiding place for them. So moving to the bottom tanks, I have pretty much 2 bare bottom tanks, but one of them I actually have a bunch of jungle valve left over from the tank inside that I actually tore down a couple months ago. Right now they're just floating. I'm figuring out if I want to use them for anything or if my dad wants to get some more jungle valve. But his jungle valve right now is just taking off and it's just insanely taken over his tank, which is awesome and amazing. I probably need to do an update on that tank for you guys at some point. But I did have another order that I need to fulfill for the jungle valve, so I went ahead and just packed a few of these guys for that order. And pretty much, man, some of these jungle valves, they were like over like 4 to 5 feet long. Something pretty ridiculous to see a plant grow that long. A lot of the other plants were about 1 foot to 2 foot in length, but in general, man, these jungle valves are amazing and they grow really tall. So if you have some tall tanks, these are really perfect for that setup, especially with like angels, discus, and like that. Super easy plants to keep, and something that a lot of hobbyists like. All right, and moving to the Hippopotamus lutenus tank. So from the previous videos, as you guys know, I have a 2.5 phase, and the other one is maybe like a 1.5, where it's kind of transitioning. So these Plecos go through 3 phases, pretty much a black and spotted phase, which is kind of like, they look kind of like a normal big Pleco. Phase 2 is where they start to change a little bit of gold in their tail. They start from actually the tail and they move all the way up to the body. And one of them was kind of already transitioning, so that transition is kind of like a 2.5 phase where maybe over half of its body is already transformed into a golden color. And then when they go to phase 3, it's pretty much all gold across their whole body. Or a lot of people like to say they're going Super Saiyan, which is kind of a reference from an anime where they change to a golden color or a yellow color. But what's really interesting from the last update is the first one, which was 1.5 phase. That one is actually starting to change to a phase 2 / 2.5, where you can actually start seeing gold pop up on the back fins and the back tail of the Pleco. Now the other Pleco that's already in the 2.5 phase going to a 3 phase, that one's actually starting to be a lot more gold, and it's starting to pick up some really nice color. I really didn't have a light across this tank for the longest time, so I haven't really seen the colors of these Plecos kind of like in person or forever. But you know, so turning on the lights today, those colors are really ridiculous. Like, they're really gold, really nice. It's really nice to see a Pleco of that gold and that beautiful. Moving forward, when I actually move into the other house, I might actually end up separating these guys, putting one in each tank so that they have a little bit more room to swim. Also, just because I noticed that they're kind of like really territorial towards each other. Like, they really like that dark spot under the overflow box. So one of them will always fight for that spot, and the other one will try to get in there but can't. So I'm thinking of just having them dedicated to each bare bottom tank, maybe one in each rack system, and that way they can have a lot more room to swim and just have their own dedicated space. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's update on the rack system outside. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you guys are subscribed. And like always, until next time guys, peace.